Hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be right now. Welcome to Tristar's webinar. Today we are going to be looking at a really nice application for 3D similarity search called ModelSearch. My name is Bogdan Kadzillo at Tristar, and we're happy to show you this topic today. Just a quick overview for who Tristar is. We've been in business 25 years across North America and some of our partners across the world. We are primarily focused on PLM, CAD data management. We have a lot of experts who've come from industry, who've been involved in making sure their organizations are streamlining their product development. We are in consulting and implementation of different software and services to enable you to streamline that product development. We are a Platinum PTC channel partner, and we support the Creo and Windchill products. We are also going to take a look at today one of our partners' products, which is a very, very nice complement to Creo and Windchill. And I think as I go through this today, you'll see some value potentially for your organization in this kind of product. Before I begin, I just want to remind everyone, Tristar's got some time-limited offers on Creo licenses. So take a look at our website, www.tristar.com, and take a look at our current offers. They do expire in a few days. So today what we're going to be looking at is an application called ModelSearch. We're going to be taking a look at what this is and what could be the potential benefits to your business, to your department, and the way you do your work in using this type of software. I'm going to go into a demo and show you how this software works if you are a Creo parametric user, and also if you're a Windchill user in general, so a viewer, a contributor, not necessarily a CAD user. How could this help you, and how could this help your business? And then we're going to take a look at how would you implement this into your environment. And towards the end, I'll leave time for some questions and answers. If you have any, feel free to type those into your GoToMeeting chat or questions window, and I'll get through as many as I can. If I don't have time, or if there are a lot of nice things to talk about, you can definitely contact your Tristar sales representative, and they'll be able to schedule a more in-depth session to go over any questions you may have. Okay, let's get into this. So the typical challenges around the environment of product development, and where ModelSearch will kind of come into play, as you'll see in this webinar, is a lot of times designers have to get the product out the door, onto the market, into manufacturing, and those compressed design times sometimes lead to part number proliferation, right? It's easier to just create the part than to search for it and find out if it already exists. So those duplicate parts could impact your business bottom line, right? Eventually you'll have so many parts that may be identical, and you will be spending potentially thousands of dollars maintaining all of these similar duplicate parts. This would impact engineering because they have to, kind of search for these parts, making sure obsolescence is handled properly. Which customers are using these type of parts? Can I replace a certain part for a certain customer that I've used on another customer's design or product? Are they similar in any way? It could impact production because now, machine code, CNC code needs to be created for exactly the same part. And now I have to maintain that, as well as purchasing, inventory, quoting components that are exactly the same, and having visibility into, how many of these similar parts do we have? Can we minimize the amount of components we're carrying in inventory? And of course, there's also documentation around this, specifications, requirements, performance analysis files. Any type of information that's related to that part also needs to be maintained. So now the documentation group, quality group, is potentially maintaining the same information on multiple parts that are nearly identical, that you may be able to reuse from a feature fit function perspective. That could also push costs potentially into the millions of dollars for your business, maintaining thousands, hundreds of duplicate parts. And can we have a way to address that? How about saving some time producing those parts, or rewriting machining programs for those parts? So where a geometric similarity search comes into play, which we'll get to with model search, is giving you the ability to reduce those number of parts that you're carrying that are almost identical, if not identical, having a way to identify how many of these you have, enabling you to provide a higher reuse of those similar parts. So in engineering, before I create a part, even if I'm importing a neutral file like a step or IGES or Parasolid or JT or whatever neutral format I have, before I decide to use it or introduce it into my environment, maybe I've already used that part in the past. And this could enable you to, reduce production and inventory costs, maintaining all those duplicate parts. So we've partnered with a company in Europe called Techsoft, and they designed this great software called ModelSearch. They are PTC partners as well, and they're specialists at providing quick, fast, easy to use software for this type of use case, among others. So let's take a look at ModelSearch from Techsoft. Tristar and Techsoft have customers who've saved a lot of time and effort in maintaining those similar parts, cleansing their existing parts that they have during migrations or during any type of cost savings initiatives by using ModelSearch. So what does ModelSearch do? Well, ModelSearch contains a geometry similarity search in Creo and Windchill. So as a Creo user, I can go and open a part or start designing geometry, and ModelSearch will show me what currently exists in my database, which parts are similar and how similar are they. It does a real-time check. So it takes a few seconds, if not a second or two, to find those parts. It also, as I save a part or as I create a new part, it automatically classifies that part using a variety of geometric rules. So I don't need dimensions on the part. I can import a step file into my database and it'll understand how many holes does it have? What are those bends on the sheet metal part? What are the radiuses? What's the thickness? What's the size? Does it look like any other parts I have in my system? And it gives me that search result really fast. It's a very optimized environment. And if you're connecting your Creo to Windchill, it does not impact your Windchill performance. So you're not slowing down your Windchill system by doing these kind of checks into the database. On the more technical side, what does it actually do? So the user really doesn't do anything. As the CAD user creates that geometry, saves it, checks it into Windchill, the ModelSearch environment automatically creates that geometric footprint. And that footprint, what we call, is just a series of parameters that determine what is that part? What size is it? How many holes does it have? Does it have a pattern of holes? Is it a flange? Is it a regular geometric part? Is it a highly surfaced model? It doesn't look at features, it just looks at the geometry, pure and simple. It's integrated into Creo parametric user interface and into the Windchill graphical user interface, or GUI. So I don't need to launch a separate program to run this application. It's always in the programs that I use, and I can use it. I can tell it to sit aside while I'm doing something and not alert me, or I can have it active when I'm doing these kind of designs. It also is integrated. I've been talking about Creo Parametric, but some of the other nice design tools and database, PDM tools that PTC offers, such as Creo Elements Direct for the direct modeling side, and their model manager, ModelSearch is also integrated into those softwares. So no matter if you're using Creo Parametric or Creo Elements Direct, you have the same kind of environment where you have ModelSearch integrated into that. And because Creo supports different CAD software in the market today from third parties, ModelSearch can support the geometric classification of multi-CAD models. So if I am a company who's using Creo, but I'm also using other CAD software from other vendors in Windchill, then I can also have this ModelSearch not only look at my Creo models that exist, but I can also have it look at my other CAD models that other departments may have been creating or importing into Windchill. It's also integrated with the Windchill workflows and Windchill access rules. So it's not a separate system that I have to configure users into and provide specific access to those models for those users. It's respecting my Windchill access rules. So if I am a user in Windchill who does not have access to search a certain highly proprietary or security sensitive product that my company is designing, model search is not going to show me results from that product. Right? I don't want to use, classified information or sensitive security information that I shouldn't be, and this doesn't bypass those security controls in Windchill at all. So what are the benefits here of a software like Model Search? This would enable you to drive some cost reduction through higher part reuse, reduced variety of parts and the number of parts. The very important thing also that a lot of customers ask us is, I have a very customized Windchill system, or I have a Windchill system that I want it to be easy to be upgraded in the future. Model Search does not change anything to the Windchill object model or data itself. We're not doing anything with the CAD models. Model Search does not create or use additional neutral CAD data to manage in addition to the source CAD data. Some of the competitors in this space will have to create a large library of step files or other files that they will then reference for this search. Model Search uses the native CAD geometry that you already have in your Windchill system. You don't need to create anything else. You don't need to spend days or weeks republishing step files for this thing to work. It's a very nice, fast solution. And for the people who may want to use this software and are wondering, well, what kind of ROI am I going to get from using this? It's typically, based on past installations, a very quick ROI. And the larger amount of duplicate parts you have, the larger database size you have, there's some tremendous cost savings that could be achieved with Model Search. So let's take a look at some live examples of what Model Search looks like in different environments. So we're going to take a look at it first from a CAD user perspective. So I've launched Creo Parametric. So I'm going to be searching for, or actually in this use case, what's going to happen is I'm going to start designing a part. And my part's going to look something similar to what I have on the left bottom corner. So as I'm designing this part, I don't know whether this part exists in my database. I really don't have time to search for it. I really don't know what the part number is or whether this may have been used anywhere. During the environment we're in right now, where a lot of us may be working from home, I just don't have time to go searching for that information, or people may not be available and I need to get my job done. So you can see as I'm creating features right here on the bottom right, I have a really nice pop-up for Model Search already showing me some similar parts that it found based on what features I'm using. Right, so let's keep going. Let's keep adding some additional features. So I'm going to create a bunch of flanges here. I'll give them some dimensions and recreate this solid geometry that I have in my mind. And as soon as I go in and complete a feature, I have Model Search suggesting to me, well, you already have similar parts in the system, and there's a percentage similarity with some of these. Some parts are not similar at all. They're kind of further away from what I'm doing. So instead of kind of recreating this part, I can just reuse, and it gives me what exact part number that is. what life cycle state that could be in Windchill. I can also go into my and take a look at my model versus all of the similar parts that it found. And I've only told it to found up to 70 or so % of parts that are similar. And it loads all of them into session. It creates a temporary assembly for me. And it just loads everything side by side. So I can kind of visually examine it. I can also open that part in a Windchill window to show me where exactly in Windchill is this part. What are some of the additional details that I have on this part and I might want to reuse without recreating it from scratch, right? So I can see that information. It links directly into my Windchill page. I can also compare this model with what I'm currently designing. So what it'll do is it'll kind of do a bunch of Boolean operations for me. It'll orient the part the way it should be oriented, no matter how I'm designing it, what plane I'm using, what coordinate system I'm starting from. This part could have been designed sideways. I'm designing it upwards or downwards. It doesn't matter. There's some really nice algorithms in ModelSearch that will place it properly to give me a pure Boolean and different search. So here I can highlight the different solid bodies that are different than what I'm designing. So if I want to do some measurements off of this, I can use Creo to take measurements and see how close am I, or how close that part is to what I want. So that's just a temporary assembly. I would never save this into Windchill or never save this. Once I'm done with it, I'll continue moving forward. Now, also from a Windchill perspective, I can see those same similar parts, but in the Windchill browser and run through additional attributes that I have on there. On the Windchill side, there's also a really nice feature called the gallery view. So I've brought up here 4 of those parts I selected, kind of in a gallery view. And this is the Creo view that's integrated into Windchill. Every user will have this who's accessing Windchill. And they'll be able to bring up the parts and some of the details of those parts kind of side by side, and they can compare what these parts look like. Here, what I'll do is, the next step is I'll bring in a step file into my Creo environment. Right? I went into some catalog, I've opened up I downloaded a step file into my local folder, and in this case, I want to open it in Creo and take a look at it. So this is just going to be import geometry. Now, I want to use this motor in one of my assemblies potentially. In just a few seconds, you can see here that there are already similar motors that are used or stored in Windchill that ModelSearch will find for me. They're very similar to the one I'm importing. So instead of introducing a new part into Windchill, I can just see that I may have something that I've already used. Someone, my colleague or someone in my company may have already used this motor in one of their designs. Let's reuse that one instead. ModelSearch will give me that information. And here I can see that that information is presented to me, no matter if it's a feature that I've created in Creo or if it's just a step file that I've imported. Right? So this could be on any model. Now, for the Windchill user, if I'm not using Creo, let's take a look at it from that perspective. So ModelSearch is integrated into the Windchill environment. So when I open up a regular web browser, you can see I have ModelSearch integrated as a tab inside of my Windchill environment. And when I run a similarity search on the model, I get presented with a list of similar models. And I have a configurable table view to show me some of the attributes, some of the dimensions it scans for and finds. Those don't need to be CAD dimensions, they're just geometric dimensions. Maybe I want to have a search for a part that's a certain size, that may be having a certain number of holes that I want to reuse. So for example, here's a part that on the right hand side that I have in mind. I want to search for this one. I kind of roughly know what the dimensions of it should be based on my assembly that I want to put this into, or the use case I have for this part. So let's go through some search in Windchill. And I don't really know what this part is, or I really don't want necessarily the same geometry, but I want to search on attributes or parameters instead. So here on the left-hand side, I'm filling in some attribute information that I'm searching, and I'm filling in, I want this maximum size of the part to be 90 millimeters plus or minus 10. You could use inches, use feet, and I can enter the criteria to search for minimum dimensions. I can enter criteria to search for certain feature types. So here I'm searching for a hole, and that hole diameter should be, plus or minus 25, plus or minus 5. And every time I enter criteria, it's going to show me those parts that meet that criteria. It doesn't have to have a dimension that someone put on it. It's just, remember, scanning for geometry. Everything's cataloged based on its geometry, no matter how it was designed. So now when I kind of get down to my criteria, I find about 6 objects that are very similar, and I could reuse some of those in my environment, or take a look at more details of them, which products they may have been used in. I can contact other designers. I can go in, if I'm a purchasing person, I can go in and potentially even suggest this part or understand the cost of this part in my ERP system. I can also, when I do these searches, I can also go in and save these searches. So let me take a look at how that would happen. So when I execute a search with these attribute parameters that I've created, and I'm reusing that search, I can save that as a search into the Windchill system, and I can share this search with other users, or I can keep it for myself. They'll be listed under the saved searches area. So I can bring back any of those common searches in the future that I want to scan the system for. The other thing also that I can do in model search is take a look at company-wide or Windchill system-wide, or for a certain product or container, how many duplicate parts do I have in total? So there's a really nice duplicates summary that Windchill will show me, and it'll show me different groups that I have configured based on what I'm searching for, and it'll show me how many of those parts were found that were similar across that specific part number or that specific that specific geometry, how many part numbers I have that were found. So here I found about 16 similar parts that are used. They may not, they may be used in older designs, so I can retire them essentially. So I can go through the database, I can specify that those parts are now going to be moved into like an do not use or obsolete lifecycle state. And as I'm filtering through this, I can make them invisible to my searches. So these would be parts that I don't want to see anymore because I'm going to handle them. I'm going to retire them inside our Windchill. So it's a really nice way of taking a look at how many of these duplicate parts you have, and from an end user perspective, kind of get a quick list of, well, if I'm designing something, do I really need to introduce that new part? So let's take a look at the Windchill and ModelSearch architecture of how this would fit into your environment. So your existing Windchill architecture will typically contain a application server, database, some replica servers potentially. There's a visualization server, the wide area network or WAN only computers. Those are your clients. With ModelSearch, there is a ModelSearch server. There's some requirements based on the number of models you have in your environment. This ModelSearch server also contains several plugins that gets installed on your Windchill visualization and clients if you're using Creo and that embedded search. And for smaller deployments, typically the ModelSearch server will be running alongside your Windchill server. So if you have enough hardware, memory, and storage space, that component could be installed on your existing Windchill server. It sits alongside of Windchill. It's not interacting with Windchill at all. So if you need to upgrade something, it's very quick to uninstall these plugins and just upgrade Windchill without those. Does not do anything to the Windchill data model. I also wanted to take a look at, I've been using the 5.503 release. I wanted to take a look at some information about that release. In the prior release, the 5.5.1, there were some nice features added. The WT part attributes are the ones that I really liked. I wanted to, if you are using not only CAD and Windchill, but WT parts, you can now include those attributes in your ModelSearch searches alongside with the CAD attributes. So you can also categorize those. In the release coming up, ModelSearch will also add support for the latest CAD, such as Creo 7 and the latest Windchill 12 release, which came out this past summer. It's already fall, unbelievably. There's some other features in that release that are really nice. So if you have a chance, check out that release if you're upgrading. So I'm gonna just take some questions and answers if you have any right now. Based on what you've seen in ModelSearch, type them into your questions and answer or chat box in GoToMeeting. I'll do my best to answer those on this session. And while you're entering your questions, I want to also remind you that this webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to find it at tristar.com in the resource center under our webinars for future viewing. Any questions so far? If you would like to take advantage of some of our special offers, again, take a look at our specials. And if you are interested in ModelSearch, you are interested in trying it out, seeing how it would work with your type of models, or you want to run a small pilot in your company, or just get some idea of how much is this gonna entail in terms of implementation, in terms of how soon can you get a nice return on investment on it, let us know. Contact us at www.tristar.com. We'll be happy to provide you that information. So we've partnered with Techsoft and their model search program because it's one of, if not the best on the market today for 3D geometric searching. And we hope that you found this presentation useful. And if you have any questions further, let us know, and we'll be happy to answer those. That's going to end the webinar for today. I want to thank everyone for attending and taking a look at this, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you.